And welcome to another edition of Weather and Climate Chat with Dr. Michael Davis and myself, Monsoon Mike Regensberger. Dr. Davis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And today we have a special guest in the studio as well. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Megan Grandinetti.
All right, and you are?
I'm a graduate student at Western Kentucky University, but I am a Kutztown alum from 2013.
Excellent. All right, well, we're going to bring you on the air in a little bit, but first we want to talk a little bit with Dr. Davis about past, present, and future weather. Another interesting week this past week. I keep saying that. We had a little friendly competition between the two of us again with the temperatures, and I thought we were going to get into the 60s. I said about 63. You didn't think we got into the 50s. Monday, I checked the actual high in Allentown, and Reading was 68, so we came close to 70 again.
Yeah, I was banking a little too much on the colder air coming in from the north and the cloud cover, but the weather's just crazy like that. This
year, you just cannot get rid of that warmth. That warmth just really wants to hang on to some extent. And this show is actually airing on Friday, so by the time this airs, the sun should be out again. But as we're recording this, it's Thursday. It's raining. It's kind of warm again. We're in the 60s. What's it, about 62 outside right now?
62. Yeah. Probably get up in about mid-60s.
Right.
Probably by the end of the day.
Cold front moving through tonight, so by the time this airs, it will have already moved through. So we're getting a healthy dose of rain, or got a healthy dose of rain out of this particular.
We need it too.
We do still need it. That's a very good point. That we're still. How far are we behind?
For the month, we're about 1.5 inches below.
Okay.
For the year, we're roughly about 3.5, 4 inches.
So is that considered pretty serious or moderately serious, or?
I wouldn't say it's serious,
okay.
But we're below.
We're below average. Okay.
We could definitely use some more precipitation.
Right.
Sure.
And doesn't snow help that too? Like if we were to, for example, have a snowy winter by some...
Oh, certainly, yes.
And that would help because that would seep in there. Very good. Mm-hmm. All right. So cold front passes. Coming weekend looks fairly, I don't want to say winter-like, but seasonably chilly. And Sunday maybe even a little below normal.
We have a low-pressure storm system that's currently over Washington, Oregon, Idaho, out in the Pacific Northwest. It's racing across the country right now.
Right.
And it's going to be bringing a heavy dose of snow across the Central Plains and into the Great Lakes. Some areas are looking at maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow. And the jet stream's just so quick right now in the upper levels of the atmosphere that this thing's riding from 2/3 of the continent in about a day and a half.
Right.
But
now,
the cold air is going to be coming in from behind, and then that's going to give us the cooler temperatures.
So it looks like several days in the 40s beginning around Sunday, where we stay in the 40s for at least the first half of next week. Did want to see, I saw some weather gurus online getting a little excited about these potential snow showers Saturday night into Sunday. And I know the GFS model and the Canadian model kind of indicated perhaps in northern areas, Schuylkill, Carbon, northern parts of the area, seeing some dusting of snow Saturday night. Do you see that or not so much?
I would probably say no because of the warmer temperatures we had today.
Okay.
The past couple of days, it's recharged the energy in the ground itself. And I think it's going to be kind of more mixed in with the rain, too.
Right,
so it's going to be more difficult for an accumulation to happen.
Right.
I wouldn't rule out a dusting maybe in higher elevations.
Sure.
But I think more or less you're probably not going to have a lot of precipitation in the form of snowpack this weekend.
Now, of course, we're coming up upon a big holiday week, and we plan to, you and I, meet again unless some external forces prevent that from happening with a special holiday week special. But for now, how does Thanksgiving look? It looks like we start the week cold and then maybe warm up a little bit again.
Yeah, the midweek warm-up looks like it's going to happen maybe into the 50s or so.
Yep.
And high pressure will be in place for most of the midweek and into Thursday.
Okay.
So right now it's looking maybe a little bit on the average side of temperatures, and with high pressure in place, should be clear, sunny weather for Thanksgiving.
Right.
But right behind that on Friday, it looks like there's going to be some rain, maybe a storm coming in terms of low pressure, moving up into Ontario, coming up from the south.
And, of course, that'll all be subject to change. We'll have to touch base again in a few days and see where that still stands. But in the end, when March is all said and done, which it's almost all said and done, I mean, a week from Monday, it's over. Where do you think we're going to end up? I mean, we started March. What did I say? Am I saying March? November.
Wish it was March.
Oh, yeah, I know. I wish it was March. November. So where's November going to end up, you think? We started off extremely warm. And then we kind of averaged off a little bit. Then we had some shots of cold. Then it goes back up. So where do you think we're going to end November?
I'd say it would be still slightly above average.
Slightly above
I don't
average.
think we're going to dip below average, but
Yeah.
we're going to get cooler to close out the month.
Okay. And December, any long shot thoughts on December yet, or you're not ready for that yet?
I would probably say it's going to be near average.
Average. Okay.
Maybe a little bit above.
Okay.
I'm going to bank on the El Nino.
Yeah, that seems to be where it's going this year. I saw some of the local TV meteorologists all came out with their winter forecasts. They're kind of in line with what you and I both were saying, but the theme with all those guys and ladies seems to be kind of dull, but then once later in the winter, February, March could get a little exciting. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, let the cold air establish itself
Yeah.
first before we start going bonkers on,
Right.
say, these heavy snowfalls and
So
December,
if you're a
January.
snow fan, better chances later in the season.
at this point, yeah, that's what
Okay.
I'm going to go with.
All right. Very good. All right. So there you go. There you have it, folks. Of course, stay tuned on my page, your page on Facebook for updates on that. And of course, it's always changing. We'll keep you updated on any of that stuff. Right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now let's go to our special guest. Once again, reintroducing Megan Grandinetti. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. All right. So reintroduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm currently a graduate student at Western Kentucky University, which is funny because Kutztown and Western share the same font. So WKU and KU, very funny.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. And I study the decomposition of algae. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Is that something you've always wanted to do?
No,
or is
I
that
had
you just
no
kind of fell
idea.
into it?
Yeah,
Okay.
when I went to grad school, I knew I wanted to be an ecologist, but I didn't really know what type of topic I was looking at, and this project was basically handed to me, so I just ran with it. And algae is very dependent upon the weather.
Okay. So when you say dependent upon the weather, I mean, obviously we're seeing what seems to be the gradual warming of our climate, part of climate change. Is that, are you studying that with your study?
Not quite, but I do study seasonal differences in algae, and
Okay.
today is pretty overcast and rainy, so that means all the algae that I was studying has been completely washed away because high flow really takes it out.
Interesting. Interesting. Do you want to weigh in on that, Dr. Davis?
I'll let Megan speak for it because she's more the expert than I am on that. But
Okay.
I would imagine if you put more water in the stream flow, you're going to have a higher discharge, and that's going to create more turbulence and disrupt the whole stream pattern.
Now,
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
just curious what would happen in like a drought period.
Yeah.
Would the just accumulate or rest on the bed?
The algae, it just takes over everything, and it ends up killing itself because it wants to grow so fastly, and it just cuts the rest of itself off and dies and has to regrow because it's just so aggressive trying to get downstream. The river I work in doesn't go dry, if that's what you're referring to, but sometimes that does happen, and then the algae dries up completely, and it has to wait for rain to reform.
Okay.
Interesting. So what river are you working on?
I work in the Green River, and it's in Hart County, Kentucky.
Okay. So Hart County, Kentucky. All right. So that's what, about 10 hours from here?
12.
12 hours. Okay. So it's a good drive. You could say
Yeah.
a healthy drive. So this is an ongoing project that you're doing?
I spent 3 years working on it, and it's coming to its completion, and I'll be defending my master's thesis on this project in February.
Very good. Okay. So did you want to say something, Dr. Davis?
I just like to take credit that Megan has taken meteorology with me too. So
Yeah, maybe let's talk. I was just going to get to that next. So how has your basis in meteorology helped you with this particular study you're working on?
It's been very important because when you work in a river that is highly dependent upon water because it's dam controlled, you need to be able to read a weather map and a flow chart and understand how things are working. And if I didn't take meteorology, I wouldn't have not known how to do any of that. So thank goodness for Dr. Davis.
So that's definitely has been very useful to you.
Yes.
Now, what do you want to do in the future? What's your long-term goal?
I like doing research, but I'm currently a teacher and I teach biology, but I've also worked with Dr. Davis. I worked for him for 2 years as his SI, so maybe geography could be in the realm of possibilities, but who knows?
What would somebody who wants to get into your line of study do to do that? I mean, would a meteorology course here, Dr. Davis's class, be a good start?
Yeah, you can take meteorology, or you can just do research with Dr. Davis. That would be really helpful depending on what you want to do, or research with anybody really in a field that you're interested in, because it's not really what type of research you do, it's who you do it with and if you like doing research.
That's true. So I'm sure you're a lot of late nights, staring at a computer screen, staring at books and stuff like that, right?
Oh, I stare at a microscope.
Microscopes, yeah. Very true. Now, do you blog or make publicly available your findings? So if people are really interested in this algae study, they can follow along with you?
I've been keeping it a little hush-hush because this is not studied. This is the first time Cladophora, the algae I'm working with, is called Cladophora. This is the first time it'll be published, any findings in a stream. So we want to keep it quiet until we have everything together to publish it, because since this is really unknown, we don't want it to be swept out from underneath us.
Interesting. So you're really breaking new ground here, so to speak.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And what was the biggest change that you had from, say, Kutztown to Western Kentucky?
Yeah.
It's much hotter there all the time. It's not as humid, but it is 100 degrees. Yeah, it was 75 last week.
Interesting. So are you a cold weather fan or a warm weather fan, or was that hard for you to adapt to?
What Dr. Davis is getting at is that Kentucky has tornadoes.
Okay.
So
you caught on my subliminal messages.
Yeah. So here in Pennsylvania, they have tornadoes every once in a while. Kentucky has tornadoes all the time, and the tornado sirens are constantly going off. Yeah, they call them cows for some reason. And they're just mooing all the time, and nobody reacts to them at all. And then I come from Pennsylvania, and I'm like, the sirens are going off. Get in the bathtub. Put your helmet on. And everybody just looked at me like I was nuts.
Kentucky's one state that you don't really think of when you think of tornadoes. When I think of tornadoes, I think of Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, but I don't really think of Kentucky. But
Florida.
Yeah. So is your part of Kentucky more plains and it's not so mountainous? I would assume, or what?
So the part of Kentucky, Western Kentucky, it's dimpled is what they call it, because it's a limestone region, and as the limestone sinks, it makes sinkholes. I don't know if you heard about the Corvette Museum. Bowling Green, Kentucky is where I'm from, and that happened, and that happens to the landscape all the time. And because it is so flat, tornadoes just ride right through.
Wow. Okay. Have there been any good ones there? Or it's not good. That's a bad adjective there. Have there been major tornadoes, like F3, 4, 5 in that particular region?
Not since I've been there, but there was an F2 while I was working, and I happened to work by a cave, and they put me in the cave because apparently that was safer than standing in the woods.
It's probably one of the safest places you could be, actually.
So in a tornado, you want to go underground, so a cave makes sense.
That's probably a fantastic place to go in a tornado. Good stuff there. Wow. So, all right. Well, that's definitely an interesting thing you're studying.
Yeah.
And like I said, we can't really follow it because you're keeping it quiet. But I'm sure once it does become public, we're going to we'll get that out there for you.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it'll be a big deal because there's only 10 papers maybe I can read. And if you do a master's project, you obviously want to have a ton of citations and base your research off a lot of other people's research. And I'm pretty much grabbing at straws, hoping that what I found makes sense to what other people have found.
Any parting words, Dr. Davis? Anything you want to throw in there that I'm not asking?
No, I just had her talk about her research.
Okay.
It's more biology, but biology is important in its realm of science, because I'm certainly all for promoting science.
Right.
But I'm an ecologist, so you have to remember biology is important, geography is important because the landscape is important, geology, and the weather is very important to what I'm looking at, so everything is interdisciplined together.
And it's weaved together in this complex web that we are all analyzing and studying and hoping to better understand the world around us.
Very good. Now, you said one of the biggest things you had to get used to in Western Kentucky was the heat. Does it what's it like out in the winter? Do you have some cold days? Do you get some snow ever there? I haven't really studied the weather in Western Kentucky that much.
So the precursor of moving there was, it's great, it doesn't snow that much. Well, for the past 2 years that I've been there, we've had snowpocalypse because Western Kentucky has one snowplow and Bowling Green for the entire town.
Wow.
So
they weren't prepared.
So when Kutztown has a little bit of snow, you still go to school. When Western Kentucky has the thought of snow, school is completely closed. And that was something I wasn't used to because I was like, what are you talking about? I can still drive, and not until I went there was it a big deal.
Where do you think with the El Nino year that we have coming up, do you think Western Kentucky is going to be fairly mild this year?
I think it's going to be more mild, but also get more storms.
Okay.
Potentially because of, in El Nino, you typically have storms that head further south.
Right.
Into the southeast, so they might get clipped more by the upper portions of low pressures as they move through the southern regions of the country.
So given your work, do you like hearing that it's going to be stormier or not?
Sometimes it's pretty scary because we have a certain time frame where we have to go out into the river where I work, and if it's storming, there's absolutely no way we can go in. So usually we have to wait for the break in the weather, and if it's a stormy period, like a whole week, it's a whole week we couldn't work.
Lost,
That sets us a month back. Especially with the snow this year, I was set 2 months back because you couldn't go in since the snow melt, like you mentioned earlier.
Right.
Water table rises. You can't go in the river.
Did you ever have a time where there was like a thaw and you thought the snow is all over, I can finally do research, and all of a sudden you got another like foot of snow?
Yeah. So we drove to our field site, which is not paved. It's just acres of land, and you can drive on the tire tracks that have already been made. And we were like, perfect, this part is sunny. And then we walked by, and it was only the sunny parts had melted. The rest of it was still covered in snow. And everything was flooded and gooey, and we couldn't do research because we're like, it's good, but it wasn't that good because of the second snow.
Wow. So I was going to be my question, and Dr. Davis kind of already asked it. What would be like the most memorable experience you've ever had? Have you ever had any, like, I don't know, close calls or almost getting hit by lightning or anything like that?
I was in the river once when they decided to release water from the dam.
Okay.
So Green River Lake is a recreational site, and they have to keep it at a certain level in order for base flow. And if it's too high due to rain, they just release water without telling you. So I was in the river, and suddenly the water rose 2 feet while I was standing in it. So it was a race to get out before I was swallowed by the...
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to medevac campers who camp on islands there because they just get trapped and the river rises.
I went to hear Megan's talk earlier today. She's talking about autolocknose. What
Autochthonous.
I thought she said Loch Ness. So
okay.
I asked her if she saw a Loch Ness monster, and no.
Good stuff.
Did see a lot of people kayaking without shirts on, though, and they thought I was lost because I was just standing in the rivers. Not lost. Just jumped in.
So it's a recreational river,
Yeah,
too?
so the Green River is highly used for recreation. It's a big canoeing and kayaking site, so when I do research there, I have to be really careful so that my things don't get stolen, which you don't think happens often, but sometimes if you're having one of those nights with your best friends and you get on the river and you think, you know what, I just really want this rope with all these baskets on it.
Did it happen frequently?
Happened 2 times
Wow.
in 3 years.
Well, it's not too bad, I
No,
guess.
it's not too bad.
All part of the job, I guess,
Yeah.
right? All right. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you as part of our little show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming, Megan. Let me pronounce this again. Grandinetti, is that
Yes.
correct? All right, I got it. Thanks so much for being a part of the show, and thank you, Dr. Davis, for bringing Megan along. That was absolutely wonderful.
I was glad to finally bring a guest in.
I know. We'll have to see if we can keep that streak going. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.